important news about the #1 killer, heart disease, how it strikes women and men differently. And Mercury rising. After 38 years, Gus Grissom's space capsule back on land, how it was finally recovered.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. Now that all 3 bodies have been found, the Kennedy and Bissett families are planning memorials and other services for John F. Kennedy Jr., his wife Carolyn, and her sister Lauren. This is the next emotional phase of this painful ordeal. Kennedy's body was found first late last night, the Bissett sisters nearby later. The family services will begin on Friday and go through Saturday at least. We begin tonight with a recovery operation from the very latest now from NBC's Robert Hager, who remains on Cape Cod. Robert?
Tom, the agonizing wait at an end tonight. The bodies, as you said, all 3 found together in the fuselage of the plane in which they plunged to the sea. Kennedy's body discovered first, but an underwater camera unable to see the other bodies until divers could get down and move the wreckage some and peer inside. Here's how this difficult day went. At midday, a Coast Guard helicopter puts down at the Kennedy compound, where young John spent so much of his early life. Now it's his uncle the craft picks up, Senator Edward Kennedy, brought to a pier on Martha's Vineyard, grim, exhausted, walking to board a Coast Guard launch with his 2 sons for a long, sad trip to the salvage ship where the remains of John Kennedy Jr., his wife Carolyn, and her sister Lauren will be raised. But how did searchers find them? It's sonar sound wave scanning of the bottom that first drew divers to the spot at midday yesterday seemed to indicate the fuselage below. But scuba divers sent into the murky water couldn't find it. Visibility only 8 feet, current strong, air supply limited, only 15 minutes a dive. But President Clinton says today he'd already authorized the Coast Guard to take more time.
And because of the role of the Kennedy family in our national lives and because of the enormous losses that they have sustained in our lifetimes, I thought it was appropriate to give them a few more days.
So now, the big ship Grasp drops a small unmanned submarine to the bottom with a camera to beam pictures back. Night falls, nothing. Until at 11:30 p.m., the break. The camera finds the fuselage and the body of John F. Kennedy Jr., 7 miles out in 100 feet of water. It's just a little more than 4 days after the plane plunged to the bottom. But the same camera unable to locate yet the bodies of Carolyn and Lauren Bissett. So by noon today, the deep-sea divers called in. Unlike the scuba teams, their helmets and oxygen lines allow them to stay down an hour or more. Just 45 minutes later, the bodies of the Bissett sisters found as well. Now divers assess how to bring the bodies and later the fuselage to the surface, using harnesses, lines, and the big cranes of the salvage ship Grasp. Under Massachusetts law, autopsies will be required, as they are routinely for many accidental deaths. And then for searchers, the job of locating any other wreckage, which needs to be examined to rule out mechanical failure. As a tired Edward Kennedy presides over this final stage of this latest family tragedy. And the 3 who rode the plane to the bottom together, we now know, are released from 100 feet down. Tom?
Thanks very much, Robert Hager, tonight. Late today, the office of Senator Edward Kennedy announced there will be a celebration of the lives of John Kennedy and his wife Carolyn at a mass in New York Friday morning, a very private mass in a small, elegant church where his mother worshiped. Those and other arrangements tonight from NBC's Ann Thompson now. Ann?
Tom, the family has decided when to hold the mass to remember John F. Kennedy Jr. and his wife Carolyn. And the Navy says it will be ready as early as tomorrow morning if the family requests burials at sea.
Caroline Kennedy Schlossberg, friends say along with Senator Kennedy, the decision maker, on her bike early this morning on Long Island, out with her husband Ed, hours after the family learns of the discovery of John's body.
The finding of JFK Jr.'s body really initiates the whole grieving process in the direction of resolving and healing.
Friday, the family will gather in New York City for a mass at the Church of St. Thomas More, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis' parish, for years the site of an annual mass for President Kennedy. Today, police and security survey the site, an intimate stone church seating 350 people.
It's not like St. Patrick's Cathedral, gigantic. You know, it's a church that suits a small community.
Among those invited to the private service, President Clinton, who today fondly recalled a tour of the White House he gave to John and his wife Carolyn last year.
I'm glad he had the chance to come back here one more time and see the residents and know where he was when he was a little boy. I'm glad he did that.
In Hyannis, a different kind of thanks. Howard Penn, who owns a clothing store, in 1963 provided appropriate clothing for some of the family for President Kennedy's funeral, expresses the sentiments of many here.
I think we can rest our minds and move on with everybody's life. I think the Kennedys will feel a lot better.
And tonight, outside John and Carolyn's New York City apartment, a growing shrine. Huge crowd, several blocks long, bringing hundreds of flowers, candles, and messages. A lower Manhattan neighborhood, for now a gathering place, to mourn and to remember a favorite son who, like his father, died too young.
The Bissett family will hold a separate memorial Saturday night in Greenwich, Connecticut to remember Lauren, Carolyn's older sister. This, too, will be private. Tom?
Thanks very much, NBC's Ann Thompson tonight. It took the most sophisticated underwater technology to find the wreckage and the bodies of the three young people, a combination of robotic submarines and hard hat divers. It was difficult and dangerous work, and we get more on that now from NBC's Kerry Sanders.
Even after the Coast Guard had narrowed the search area, they were still examining a vast expanse of ocean, 500 square miles. Side-scan sonar, usually used for navigational charting, reveals crude images on the ocean floor. It's a starting place.
The side-scan sonar will give you a target, but we don't know what that target actually is. So the divers still have to go to the bottom and search for that target.
But before Navy divers suit up, the USS Grasp launches the small ROV.
The ROV is basically an inspection tool.
Tonight, hard hat divers are still working from submerged platforms, intensively sweeping the ocean floor.
So, how do they do it? When Navy divers hit the ocean floor in their platform, they're connected by an air hose like this rope. They step off about 15 feet and begin walking in a semicircle. If they don't find anything, they let out more of that air hose and go back the other direction. It is a painstakingly slow process, and because the visibility is so restricted, divers and other searches have literally tripped over the debris.
The search for all the pieces that may help investigators explain why the plane crashed. Kerry Sanders, NBC News, Martha's Vineyard.
When we come back in a moment, the view from the cockpit tonight, NBC News in depth, when a plane falls from the sky, twisting out of control, the dead man's spiral. What is it really like?
You really build that speed up quickly. It's very quick. It feels better to just let go, but you're still in the spiral.
Is this what happened to John F. Kennedy's plane? Tonight, in depth. Also tonight, Lifeline, the deadly risks for women from heart disease. Important new information.
It's time. Time for your heartburn to kick in because your heartburn relief gave out. It happens 2 or more days a week, even though you've treated it and changed your diet. That frequent, persistent heartburn may be due to acid reflux disease, potentially serious.
It's Prilosec time. Time to see your doctor about prescription Prilosec. Your results may vary, but for many people, Prilosec provides 24 hours of complete heartburn relief with 1 daily dose. Ask your doctor for more information about Prilosec and if it's right for you. The most common side effects are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. 24 hours of complete heartburn relief is possible. It's Prilosec time.
With Days Inn hotels in over 1,800 cities and towns, there's bound to be one where you're headed. You can pretty much bet on it. Days Inn. There you go.
Yoo-hoo! Does your daily shower cleaner disinfect? Ooh, guess that's a no. Get Lysol Daily Shower Cleaner, the only one that disinfects. Lysol Daily Shower Cleaner helps protect. You have our word on it.
When it comes to your health, never compromise, even when choosing a laxative. You need one that's strong enough to work overnight, but also gentle. Try doctor-recommended Dulcolax. Its comfort coating even protects your stomach. Get strong, get gentle, get doctor-recommended Dulcolax.
It's surprising who's drinking Ensure. Healthy people. Staying healthy means eating right. But when you can't eat nutritious foods like these, drink Ensure. With essential vitamins and minerals you find in vegetables, calcium like in milk, and protein like in fish. Ensure's a source of complete balanced nutrition. Helps you stay active and energetic. Drink Ensure. And drink to your health. And now there's Ensure High Calcium, with calcium and other key nutrients to help build strong bones.
On a new Dateline Wednesday, to us, he was JFK Jr. To them, he was just John. Close friends talk about their relationship with John F. Kennedy Jr. Plus, the story of one sweet lady, her desire to strike it rich, and how it cost her thousands. A new Dateline Wednesday, 8/7 Central on NBC.
NBC News in depth tonight. Out of control when an airplane plunges out of the sky in a terrifying descent known as a graveyard spiral. Last year, Americans flying private and corporate planes logged more than 26 million hours of flight time. There were 361 fatal accidents. No one knows for sure just what happened to John F. Kennedy Jr.'s plane to crash, what caused it to crash, but some experts think it could have started with one of those frightening spirals. Tonight, NBC Jim Avila, the view from the cockpit in depth.
The graveyard spiral, a series of ever-tightening turns that corkscrew the plane towards Earth. The leading danger when new pilots leave clear weather for clouds, and as these training tapes demonstrate, lose their bearings and begin to turn without even knowing it.
Bell went off on your head and said, specialist orientation, roll wings level, like an autopilot. Well, nobody'd ever die.
By the time the force of gravity warns the pilot the plane is falling, the instinct to pull up only makes the spiral worse.
No one knows exactly why JFK Jr.'s plane crashed. It could have been massive mechanical failure. But aviation experts still say that both the weather conditions and the radar data point to a graveyard spiral as a prime suspect.
NBC News correspondent Dr. Bob Arnott, a veteran pilot with 5,000 hours in the cockpit, aboard an aerobatic single-engine plane with a flight instructor demonstrating how quickly a graveyard spiral develops.
If this airplane suddenly comes off heading a little bit, how quickly can you fall off and what happens next?
Well, rather quickly. Just let it go, and you notice that the nose and the wing follows. Now, as the plane starts to pull off heading, and we're rotating faster and faster, the tendency is to want to put some G-forces on and pull hard and keep rotating, keep rotating.
Really build that speed up quickly. It's very quick.
The sensation that I experienced in this dead man spiral, I had never experienced before.
The feeling of dread is because Arnott can see the water rushing toward him, and the plane is not just falling freely, it's picking up speed, as shown in this second graveyard spiral.
It's an accelerating turn, so the G-forces are coming on and the speed is building up on the airplane.
Whoa! These are amazing. Ah! Oh! Wow!
Ah! Good recovery, Bob. That got her right out of there, but what helped you to recover?
Just leveling the airplane out quickly.
Arnott resists the natural temptation to just pull up, instead straightening the plane's wings first and then leveling off. Sounds simple, but even in clear skies and with thousands of hours of experience, Arnott found it a challenge.
What you have to do, feeling the G's, the panic, the sweating, the nausea, is suspend all of your natural senses and say, I'm going to figure out what these gauges are doing, and then I'm going to allow this airplane to continue to head towards the ground, but I'm going to try and turn the rudder and the steering column to get it straight, and then I'm going to have the presence of mind to pull it back up. Very tough to do.
Tough to do in a plane hurtling towards Earth at 5,000 feet a minute, especially in the dark, over water, if a new pilot is struggling for bearings in hazy weather. Jim Avila, NBC News, Chicago.
So ahead tonight, Lifeline. We have some important health news, women and heart attacks. Who's at greater risk? And the amazing story of the Mercury space capsule, Liberty Bell 7, back on land for the first time in 38 years.
When you buy a bargain basement PC, what you're really buying is a mystery box. Will there be a monitor? Probably not. Lots of software? Ha! A year on the internet, 24/7 tech support? Dream on. With a Gateway Essential PC, you know exactly what you're getting. Monitor, great software, award-winning tech support, and internet access for $28 a month, or less than $1 a day. No mystery there. Call 1-800-GATEWAY for a Gateway Essential PC with an Intel Celeron processor.
Spray and Wash Advanced Stain Care penetrates faster than Shout and powers out those dirty sweat stains. So you can...
Let them go. Let them play. Let them go with Spray and Wash.
Great meal. Uh-oh, gas pressure. What now? What else? Gas X, with the most powerful medicine for fast relief. Nothing works faster.
Hey, want to go for ice cream?
Gas X, the power to fight gas fast.
There are a whole lot of cereals that don't have a whole lot of whole grain. Of these leading cereals, only one is made with 100% whole grain. Only Wheaties. So only Wheaties gives you 100% whole grain nutrition. Maybe that's why only Wheaties has Tiger Woods.
Whole grain makes the difference.
And 100% whole grain makes it Wheaties.
You've got to be quick to keep up with them. Quicker to help protect them. That's why Lysol disinfectant spray works in 30 seconds to kill 99.9% of germs. No spray works faster than Lysol spray. You have our word on it.
There are those among us with very simple tastes. They only want the best. And for them, there's Fancy Feast gourmet cat food. Exceptionally moist and delicious. Fancy Feast. Good taste is easy to recognize.
All right, kid. Here we go. What do you got? What do you got? Yeah. All right, come on, come on.
What would you do if someone you loved had a heart attack? Did you know it's now been proven that the same Bear aspirin you have in your bag for muscle aches may actually help stop you from dying if you take it during a heart attack?
Downtown. Lucky shot.
Can your pain reliever do that? Talk to your doctor now.
Next time I'll go easier on you.
Bear, powerful pain relief and so much more.
Tomorrow and today, the latest on the recovery of John F. Kennedy Jr.'s plane and the continuing investigation into that tragic flight. Tomorrow and today.
Get more of the Today Show with Later Today, coming in September.
In Washington, a great debate is underway that will affect your tax bill to one degree or another and will almost certainly get major play in next year's presidential election. Tax cuts. How many? How big? President Clinton says the Republicans want to cut too much, way too much. Here's NBC's David Bloom at the White House tonight. David, what's the latest there?
Well, Tom, tonight the president is threatening to veto a proposed 10-year, $792 billion tax cut plan being pushed by House Republicans. That plan could pass the House late tonight because moderate Republicans who had been wavering now say they'll back their party's leaders and support the GOP tax cut. President Clinton today called the Republicans' almost $800 billion tax cut proposal a, quote, risky plan, which he argued fails to shore up Social Security or Medicare and would force other spending cuts.
So what are they going to do about Medicare? They don't put a red cent into it. If you adopt their tax cut program, they won't be able to do anything to extend the solvency of Medicare. And they will have to have huge cuts. They're going to have cuts in defense, cuts in education, cuts in the environment.
But tonight, under intense pressure from House Speaker Dennis Hastert, some moderate Republicans who wanted the tax cut scaled back even more now say they'll support the plan, if only to keep from handing the president an easy victory. The president's news conference itself was wide-ranging. Mr. Clinton reiterated that he supports a so-called one China policy, saying he believes China and Taiwan will resolve their differences peacefully, calling war between the two unthinkable.
This is something that we don't want to see escalate.
And to those who increasingly call Mr. Clinton a lame duck, given that his presidency will soon be overtaken by next year's election campaign, the president insisted today, quotes, "I don't feel myself winding down. I feel myself keying up." Tom?
Thanks very much, NBC's David Bloom at the White House tonight. On a Lifeline, we have some new information about women and heart disease tonight. Just like men, heart disease is the #1 killer of women, claiming more than 230,000 of their lives every year. Now, 2 major studies have looked at more than 400,000 cases. NBC chief science correspondent is Robert Bazell, and he has important health news tonight.
Heart attacks in women, especially younger women, far more deadly than anyone knew, according to the new studies.
Women with heart attacks, particularly younger women with heart attacks, are at very high risk of death and disability and must be treated very aggressively.
The risk's so great, even though women under 50 get fewer heart attacks than men of the same age, when they do strike, women are twice as likely to die as men. In fact, Dr. Judith Hochman found in her study that women of all ages with heart attacks and all forms of heart disease face a greater risk of complications and death.
I think it's incumbent upon us to figure out why and help reduce that increased risk.
The essential message from these latest studies is that women and their doctors need to think about heart disease in a fundamentally different way. Until now, many women, like 50-year-old Debbie Collar, were unaware of the risk.
Before you had your first incident with heart disease,
Yes.
had you ever thought much about heart disease?
Only that basically it was a man's type of disease, just like having a baby was a woman's type of thing.
Doctors say women like Debbie Collar need to be aware of the threat of heart disease and need to be more concerned at an early age with risk factors like smoking, high cholesterol, and blood pressure.
Young women need to identify and modify any risk factors they may have for heart disease. It's not just a disease of old women.
A disease that often goes unrecognized in women, can have different symptoms in women, and can be far more deadly. Robert Bazell, NBC News, New York.
A huge recall was announced by General Motors tonight. It's the result of a 5-year government investigation into problems with anti-lock brake systems on some of GM's most popular vehicles. 3.5 million vehicles are involved, including the 1991 to 1997 sport utility vehicles and pickup trucks, and 1992 to 95 Chevy Suburban SUVs. At issue here, brake systems that either fail to respond or lock up. Government officials have almost 11,000 reports of brake problems on those GM models. On Wall Street tonight, the market managed to recover some of yesterday's big losses. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained almost 7 points. Bargain hunting in the tech stocks pushed the NASDAQ up more than 29 points. The top 5 widely held stocks, well, they were mixed today. When we come back, after 38 years, more clues about what really happened to the second American in space.
Nicorette isn't casual gum. It has a purpose. It helps you stop smoking. And you don't chew it like regular gum. You bite it until it tingles. And then you hold it between your cheek and your gum. And the tingling lets you know you're getting the nicotine you need to help fight your craving. And as your cravings get fewer and fewer, you use less and less Nicorette until you use none. And none is a wonderful number.
Now, Nicorette is available in mint. What a refreshing choice. You can do it. Nicorette can help.
Yoo-hoo! Does your daily shower cleaner disinfect? Ooh, guess that's a no. Get Lysol Daily Shower Cleaner, the only one that disinfects. Lysol Daily Shower Cleaner helps protect. You have our word on it.
You didn't save me any?
It wasn't enough.
Quaker Toasted Oatmeal Squares. Crunchy whole grain squares with a hint of brown sugar. You haven't wanted a cereal this badly since you were a kid.
This is Unisom Sleep Gels. It helps you sleep. This is Tylenol PM. It helps you sleep too. They both have the exact same amount of the exact same sleep ingredient. But Tylenol PM has added medicine for headaches, backaches, even fever. Do you have a headache? Backache? Fever? Then why take medicine for it? Take Unisom. It's a safe, non-habit-forming way to fall fast asleep.
With Days Inn hotels in over 1,800 cities and towns, you can go as far as you want.
We'll always be right down the lane. Days in. There you go.
Playing hard or working hard, Centrum has your nutrition covered. With Centrum, you benefit from what science is discovering about how vitamins and minerals help maintain health and strengthen immunity. Centrum, always complete from A to Zinc.
One word convinced me, and herbal could help me maintain emotional balance. Centrum.
Centrum St. John's wort is different. Some brands can lack natural ingredients. Only Centrum uses Pharmaprint for a more complete herbal every time. Centrum herbals, each naturally more complete.
They've faced tragedy before. Now the Kennedys do so again. What lessons can we all learn from this family's grief? Special edition tonight on MSNBC.
CNBC's Maria Bartiromo brings what she heard on the floor to Street Signs. Then Ron and Sama takes you to the closing bell. Street Signs, weekdays at CNBC.
There is irony in this timing. John F. Kennedy Jr.'s father was president when the late Gus Grissom returned from a short space flight, landed in the ocean, and his Mercury space capsule sank. Today, it was brought back from the deep for the first time. Here's NBC's Bob Dotson.
First pictures of the recovery and one dangerous moment. Explorers discover an explosive device meant to act as an emergency beacon that did not go off when the capsule sank 38 years ago today. Frighteningly reminiscent of another explosive device that popped prematurely that day back in 1961, blowing the capsule's escape hatch before rescue helicopters could attach their lines.
I was just laying there minding my own business when, pow! The hatch went, I looked up, and I saw nothing but blue sky and water starting to come in over the sill.
Astronaut Gus Grissom almost drowned. 3,000 pounds of seawater poured in. But Grissom was pulled free.
Without a doubt, that was the biggest shock of the day to me, to see that door go off.
The incident marred an otherwise perfect 16-minute flight with the second American in space. The capsule sank. Grissom insisted until his death in a 1967 Apollo launchpad fire that he did nothing to cause that hatch to blow. The mystery remained. Was it mechanical or pilot error? The Liberty Bell 7 was America's only unrecovered manned spacecraft until today. It took 15 years to find. A capsule the size of a telephone booth hidden under 3 miles of water. That's deeper than the Titanic. Finally discovered 90 miles northeast of the Bahamas. Lowell Grissom, Gus's brother, was there.
Gus would have been extremely pleased to have seen Liberty Bell come home.
The space capsule was quickly placed in a canister filled with seawater so it wouldn't deteriorate further in the open air. But not before explorers found something shiny hidden beneath Grissom's seat. 7 Mercury dimes, souvenirs he carried into space. Tonight, the Liberty Bell 7 is on its way to a museum in Hutchinson, Kansas, where it will be taken apart and cleaned.
It will be a very tedious job. We estimate it'll be somewhere between about 20 and 25,000 pieces.
It was hoped that these pieces would reveal the answer to the enduring question why the capsule sank. But a key piece is missing. The hatch that blew was not recovered. So the answer remains at sea, somewhere 3 miles down. Bob Dotson, NBC News, Cape Canaveral, Florida.
That's Nightly News for this Wednesday. We'll have the latest on the Kennedy tragedy throughout the night on this NBC station, also on MSNBC Dateline tonight at 8. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you back here tomorrow night.
Nightly News is a presentation of NBC News. More Americans watch NBC News than any other news organization in the world.